Hey folks, and welcome. This is a bit of a different video because I am on my vacation, but I didn't want to leave you without a video. So today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you might want to quit. There's a plane overhead. Love it. I'm going to talk about the 5 reasons why you might want to quit your musical journey. And by the end of the video, I hope to convince you that you shouldn't. So let's go. The first C that I hear musicians talking about is competition. There's more and more musicians out there. Tools are available, so everybody and their grandmother is now making music. And so musicians get discouraged because there's so much quote-unquote competition in their mind. Now, the way to approach this one is to stop thinking about it in an abstract way. As in, you see this big mass of musicians that are going to be competing with you. That is an abstract way of looking at things, and it's completely useless. In reality, if you aspire to be a composer for moving media, you don't have to think about competition whatsoever. The interaction is between one human being and another human being. It is between the client who commissions you to create the music and you as a composer for moving media. It is this relationship between you that is going to be built on trust, on you liking each other, on a track record of work that you do together that's going to cause something very special and unique. This collaboration, this connection between you guys, which means that ultimately, when you're able to develop these relationships, there will be no competition. But to get to that place where you're able to make these connections with people who will commission you to create music, you have to learn more than just the art and craft of creating music. You have to learn the art of showcasing your work, of writing emails, of communicating effectively and persuasively so that people get back to you, they check out your work, and they meet with you to understand your vibes, to understand your sensibility, and that's where it all begins. Folks, each and every one of you is a unique human being, is a unique craftsperson. There's no talk of competition. You are a unique individual, and the degree to which you will be able to express that and connect with other people who might commission you to create magic for them is the degree to which you will achieve success. I want you to stop thinking about competition and think about a racehorse. What do they do to a racehorse? They put blinders on a racehorse. Why do they put blinders on a racehorse? So that the racehorse doesn't see other racehorses. They're simply running their own race. And that's exactly how I want you to think about your career as a musical craftsperson. I want you to put on blinders and just run your own race. Do the best job that you can of creating your reel, of putting a simple website together, of communicating in a clear, crisp, and compelling manner with potential clients, and then developing relationships. And trust me, once you have a relationship going on with your best clients, it's going to be very hard for somebody else to step in and compete with you. And why is that? Because they are not you. Now folks, the second C that I hear people talking about is commodity, as in music is a commodity, it's free, it's flowing out of the tap like water. It's really hard to make money from music when music is a commodity. And folks, I have a couple of things to say about this. Number one thing is that people might not be paying for music. Yes, that is true. They're streaming it for free, and streaming royalties are paid in less than pennies, so that's gonna be a tough row. But places are paying for music. Places like brands. This is exactly what we're teaching in our academy. But this requires a mindset switch from you. Instead of seeing your songs as a product, which indeed is a commodity these days, I want you to start looking at your musical skills as a service that you're gonna pitch to places. So not songs to people as a product, which is a commodity, but your skills as a service to places, which is not a commodity. And you know why this is not a commodity? Because you're actually selling yourself. You're actually selling your skills, your sensibility as a composer for moving media. And a human being cannot be a commodity unless you're a complete copycat and everything that you do sounds like everybody else. And the way that you do things is like the way everybody else does things, then yeah, you're gonna be a commodity. But if you strive to stand out from the noise, if you strive to be a remarkable craftsperson who not only creates music that universally strikes a chord, but you're also able to communicate this, to showcase this to potential clients, to communicate with them in a way that makes them say, hey, I want to be around this person. I actually want to try a project with this person. Then you're never going to be a commodity, and this is something that you simply don't have to worry about. Okay guys, the third C that I normally hear about is computers. Computers, algorithms, robots are now capable of creating music. AI is capable of creating music. There are websites out there that create hundreds of songs in a matter of minutes. How can we as human beings possibly compete with that? Here's what I have to say about this. If your music is the kind of music that can be easily copied by a computer or through source code or through an algorithm, then yes, you are in danger of being replaced as a craftsperson by a computer. But that probably means that you're not a remarkable craftsperson, not the kind of craftsperson that film directors, creatives, storytellers might want to work with. Why? Because your music is not rare. It doesn't defy certain patterns that are easy to detect and easy to copy. Your sound is probably not unique or distinct in some way. And so the trick here, if you can call it a trick, be a remarkable craftsperson by doing the things that are not easy to copy. Trying to focus on your unique superpower that you can hone and express in ways that move your potential clients, the film directors, the storytellers, the creatives, that don't sound like a mass of other things that are drowning in a sea of copycat cacophony. Here's a very simple truth, folks. Film directors, storytellers, they don't want to work with computers. They want to work with other craftspeople, remarkable craftspeople who will bring some creative, human, interesting, distinct energy to their project. Because it is not computers, it is not source code, it is not AI that has a soul, that can tap into the meaning of a story, that can tap into the essence of the characters and express it with music that is hard to describe in words or in source code, but it strikes a perfect chord. Here's the last point I want to make about computers. If you let computers lead your creative process, the VSTs, the DAWs, if they're gonna dictate your signature sound, your approach, then there is indeed a risk that your stuff is gonna be easy to copy by robots in the future. But if instead, maybe you get away from the computer, maybe you get away from the presets, and you sit down with your notebook, with your guitar, with your piano, totally unplugged, and you work on your signature sound, you work on the thing that makes you special as a composer, then I just don't see how it will be possible for somebody like this, who develops their own way of doing things, their own sensibility, that is not led by the DAWs and the plugins. I just don't see how you can ever be threatened by computers, by technology. No matter what happens, film directors, artists, creative collaborators will always want to have a few fine folks on the same frequency in the same room with them. Not boxes, but human beings. Now folks, the fourth C that I often hear about, and this is a big one, is competence. Musicians think, well, I'm simply not good enough to continue doing what I'm doing. The music that I'm making is nowhere close to what my heroes are making, and therefore, what's the point? I'll tell you what the point is. The point, folks, is called the gap. There must always be a gap between your taste, the things that you consider to be great, and your ability to recreate them. I want you to look up a man named Ira Glass, the host of This American Life. The gap is a concept that he talks about. If you're an aspiring creative, you can never feel satisfied with the level of your craft. There will never be a time and a place where you will say, I have arrived. This is it. I feel comfortable with my creative capabilities. I don't think any of the greatest artists, songwriters, creatives have ever felt satisfied about their ability to create stuff. I think there was always a gap between what they wanted to make and what they could actually make. And so the gap, your feeling about your competence not being good enough, is a feeling that must always be there. If there is no gap, there is no growth. And the fifth C that I want to talk about is usually a bunch of reasons that I call crap excuses. It's a bunch of stuff that you will say that actually doesn't mean anything. It has no merit. It's no good reason to quit, but you say this stuff to give yourself an excuse not to keep going. It's stuff like, I am too young. Yeah, really? Are you too young? Why don't you go on YouTube and Google 4-year-old playing Chopin? Maybe it's I'm too old. Really? Why don't you Google Charles Ives, somebody who ran an insurance company all their life and didn't get any recognition for their music until they were in their 50s or 60s. I'm too far away from a big city, from the music business, from the music industry. Really? Have you heard of remote work? This is how we do things. I don't see any of the composers that I'm working with on a day-to-day basis, and we're working on huge projects. They're able to create the music, send it over to me, they're able to invoice me, everything gets taken care of from wherever they are. So that's not an excuse either. Another one of the crappy excuses is I don't have any connections. Well, what are you gonna do about it? Who is responsible for creating these connections? Folks, if you want to take off, you have to stop flying solo. It's not just your musical superpower that's going to give you the results you want. It's being able to communicate it, to network, to showcase your work to other people who may become your potential clients. This is why we have started a pro group, a community of like-minded musicians who are all traveling this journey and who can exchange their stories and their lessons. This is a place where we invite music producers, music directors who hire freelance musicians to come into our group on a monthly basis to do a live call with our members so that you can meet them, connect with them, ask them questions. How do they want to be emailed? What kind of work do they want to see? And then you can follow up with them after these calls and make your connections, because nobody else is going to create those connections for you. And relationships, other people will be responsible for everything that is great in your life and work. In the end, my friends, there's no good reason to stop doing music for music's sake. But if you're going to approach music as a career, you will have to realize that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You will have to contend with doubts, with difficulties, and with the 5 C's that we talked about in this video. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you're inspired to keep moving, to keep going. I'm Tommy Z, and I'm about to join my family because they're awake now. I'll see you in the next video.